Good morning, Year 7. Today we're going to continue our look at Prospero. So we're going to think about, is Prospero a cruel or caring person, and does he use his power in a kind, supportive way or in a greedy, unpleasant way? So we were thinking about that on Monday. Today we're going to gather evidence to use in your assessment on Friday. By the end of the lesson, you will have 3 sections of work with the subtitles Prospero and Ariel, Prospero and Caliban, Prospero and his enemies. We will think about the reasons he behaves as he does. You will then have enough evidence to decide how well Prospero uses his power. This is going to be quite a demanding lesson. We've got a lot to get through, but I know you're up to the challenge. Okay, let's write down the title and the key words. So could you copy these down in your book or the folder or wherever you're doing your Tempest work? The title is Prospero, cruel or caring, ? The date is Wednesday, the 1st of July, 2020. Make sure you get the spelling of Wednesday correct. It's Wednesday. Now we're going to look at some key terms that you might want to use when we're thinking about Prospero and in your assignment. Torment as a noun. This means severe mental and or physical suffering. Torment can also be used as a verb, as a doing or action word, and this is when if you torment someone, you cause them suffering. So torment, the verb, is to cause severe mental and or physical suffering. Compassion. This is a noun. It means sympathy and pity for the sufferings of others. It's a very strong word. It means a really deep, profound feeling. Noble, adjective. Having or showing fine personal qualities and or high moral principles of superior or high quality. So if someone's noble, they're a really fine person with really good morals and principles. Virtuous, adjective. And if you're virtuous, you show your high principles. You're a very moral Christian or religious person living by very high, noble principles. So to begin with, we're going to look at Prospero and Ariel, and we're going to be looking at the beginning of the play. So in this scene at the beginning of the play, Ariel is carrying out Prospero's orders. He has created a tempest that has shipwrecked the fleet of ships of Alonso, the King of Naples, and all the people on board have also been shipwrecked. Prospero has ordered that the sailors and nobles are safely brought to the island. He wants to scare them, but not to hurt them, as he hasn't yet decided what he wants to do with them. By the way, I'm using the word noble here as a noun, and a noble here that means a nobleman, like a lord or a sir. So, Prospero has got everyone on the island, doesn't know what to do with them. This is important. This is his motivation, why he's doing something. He tells Miranda that, I have done nothing but in care of thee, meaning his main concern is for her and her future. This suggests that revenge is not his main motivation for capturing his enemies. Instead, he's concerned about what will happen to his 15-year-old daughter as she is growing up and will soon be a young woman. What do you think would be best for her? Would it be best to stay on the island for the rest of her life with her father and Caliban, or to return to Italy and to people and civilization? So this is a decision Prospero has to make. Would it be better for Miranda to stay on the island, which is safe and he controls, or enter the world? And this is his main motivation. I have done nothing but in care of thee. So that's why he's used his power to cause a tempest to bring these people to the island. Right, we're going to look at Prospero and Ariel's relationship, and we're going to gather some evidence. That means we're going to find quotes and details from the play. Ariel's been working very hard for Prospero, but wants his freedom as he has been promised. When he asks Prospero to give him his freedom, Prospero is angry and responds fiercely. So watch the video clip, look at how the two characters talk to each other and watch their body language, and then work out what are we learning about their relationship. And also, what do we feel about Prospero? Why? So how does he treat Ariel? And Ariel is this powerful sprite that he's controlling. And how we treat people influences our opinion. So there's the clip, the video clip. So watch that, pause the video, then come back to continue. Oh, by the way, the actor playing Prospero is a woman in this film clip. So don't be put off. It is Prospero. It's the same character, but this time, as I said, with a female actor. For those of you who can't see the clip, okay, activity 1, Prospero and Ariel. This might be a form you're familiar with. In English, when we're discussing a piece of text, we think in the terms of a point, evidence, and explanation. So I've created a chart here when we've got some evidence, which are the quotes from the speeches, which give us ideas, our point, and we've got an explanation. So what we're going to do here, so I've gathered some evidence of how these characters speak to each other. These quotes tell us about their character and relationships. That's our point or idea. For some of the evidence, I have discussed in detail what we've learned. That's the explanation. But there are 3 blank spaces that you need to complete. So print this slide if you can, or write in your book 1, 2, and 3, which is 1 for each of the bits you have to fill. So the subtitle is Prospero and Ariel, and you're going to fill in your ideas in the relevant spaces. So the first point is Prospero is very fierce and commanding with Ariel. Now we know this because when Ariel speaks to him, he says, "Moody, no more," and sort of cuts him off, won't let him speak. So and Prospero is using really short sentences, and these are command, they're orders. This tells us that Prospero is a very strong leader who expects total obedience from Ariel. He does not discuss what Ariel wants, but uses short, sharp commands to make Ariel do as he is told at once. The audience may admire Prospero's strength and power, but they might not find him a likable person. So that's our first point. This is the sort of thing you're going to write in your assessment. Okay, we have another point. Prospero makes Ariel feel guilty about wanting freedom now, and he reminds Ariel of the pain that he was saved from. And the quote that tells us this is, "Dost thou forget from what torment I did free thee?" He's using a rhetorical question to make Ariel think about how lucky he is that Prospero freed him. So could you write an explanation here? In my explanation, I was thinking about what that makes us think and feel, how he treats Ariel, what it tells us about his personality, and how it makes us, the audience, think and feel. So those are the sort of things you could write in your explanation. If you want to pause the video here and write that, that's a good idea, and then continue. Right, a third bit of evidence is Prospero actually threatens to lock Ariel back inside a tree where he can howl away 12 winters. So for 12 years, he'll lock him in, torment him by locking him in a tree if he continues to moan about wanting his freedom. So that's the evidence. So what idea are we getting from that piece of evidence? Could you write that down as a point? And also you need to give an explanation. What do we think of Prospero because this is how he treats Ariel? What is Shakespeare telling us about power? Through showing Prospero using his power in this way. These are some ideas you can put in your explanation. The final bit of evidence is Ariel speaking. And when Prospero says, "Okay, look, you will get your freedom in 2 days' time when we've finished this job that is really important to sort out what happens to all these people." So when told to get his freedom in 2 days, Ariel replies, "That's my noble master. What shall I do?" And he actually repeats it, "What shall I do? What shall I do?" So that's showing enthusiasm. So what I take away from here, my point or idea, is that Prospero is fair as well as commanding. So he's not going to abuse his power. He is going to keep his promise. So this is my explanation. Even though Prospero seems very cold and commanding, he's also fair. Ariel will get his freedom, but only after the task of dealing with Alonso, Antonio, and others has been completed. Ariel seems pleased and enthusiastic to help, as he calls Prospero noble, which suggests they have quite a good relationship. And you say perhaps Ariel respects Prospero. We're now going to think about Prospero and Caliban. There's a very different relationship here, and we see a very different side. Again, this is the beginning of the play. As you've already looked in detail at their relationship, we're only going to focus on why they fell out and if that changes how we think about Prospero. Just a bit of catch up, just a reminder of the background. To begin with, Miranda and Prospero looked after Caliban, who came to live with them. They taught him to speak, gave him food and cared for him. In return, he showed them around the island and where to find water and where plants grew. However, it all went horribly wrong, and now they have an angry relationship full of hate and insults. So watch the video clip to remind you of their relationship, look at the body language, listen to the tone of voice to help you deduce their relationship. Again, Prospero is played by a female, the same woman, Helen Mirren, that we saw in the last film clip. And for those who can't access the film clip, you don't have to, you can read the text that follows. So this is our second activity. The subtitle is Prospero and Caliban. So we're going to read the modern version of the same scene on the following slide. So I haven't used the Shakespearean English, I've used the modern version because we're more focusing on the ideas here, not the language. So you're going to complete the activity. You're going to have to print out the slide or copy the quote answers into your book. And as I said, Prospero and Caliban is the subtitle. So here we've got 5 things I want you to identify. So I want you to underline or highlight examples of the following, and you can colour code your answers if you wish. So 1, Prospero threatening and insulting Caliban. So either highlight, underline, circle, whatever works for you, examples of Prospero threatening and insulting Caliban. Now, perhaps you can change a different colour. The next thing you're going to look for is Caliban threatening and insulting Prospero. The next thing you're going to look for is what Caliban tried to do to Miranda. And this is really key because this is why they've fallen out, and this is why Prospero now distrusts and dislikes Caliban. What's Caliban's thoughts about what he tried to do to Miranda? So again, that tells us about Caliban's personality. And what does Miranda think of Caliban? So those are 5 things we're going to look at. I'm going to read through the speech. And as I read through, perhaps you can find the quotes and write them down or highlight them, whatever works for you. So this is Prospero. I'll give you cramps for saying that. Horrible pains in your sides that will keep you from breathing. I'll send goblins out at night to work their nasty deeds on you. You'll be pricked all over and it'll sting like bees. I have to eat my dinner now. This island belongs to me because Sycorax, my mother, left it to me, but you've taken it from me. When you first got here, you petted me and took care of me. You would give me water with berries in it, and you taught me the names for the sun and the moon, the big light and the smaller light that burn in daytime and nighttime. I loved you back then. I showed you all the features of the island, the freshwater springs, the saltwater pits, the barren places and the fertile ones. I cursed myself for doing that. I wish I could use all the magic spells of Sycorax against you and plague you with toads, beetles and bats. I'm the only subject you have in your kingdom, and you are my first king, and you pen me up in this cave, and you don't let me go anywhere else on the island. You liar! You respond better to the whip than to kindness. I took good care of you, piece of filth that you are, and let you stay in my own hut until you tried to rape my daughter. I wish I had. You stopped me. If you hadn't, I would have filled this island with a race of Calibans. You horrid slave. You can't be trained to be good, and you're capable of anything evil. Okay, so make sure you find those 5 examples, because you're now finding quotes that you could use as evidence if you want to write about this point. This is what I've thought, so I've colour coded and done it for you. Just see if you've got the same as me. I think it's really important. So they've got this really unpleasant relationship when they're threatening each other and wishing and cursing each other and wishing them awful things. But we've got to think about, because up until now we thought, Prospero, how can you treat this Caliban so nastily, even if he is, you know, it's sort of a difficult person. But perhaps we change our opinion when we appreciate that Caliban tried to rape Miranda. Now, if we think Miranda's 15 now, and they've been on the island 12 years. At what point, how old was she? She must have been very young. But let's say Caliban had lived with them for 10 years and then tried to rape her when she was 13 or something. That's a huge betrayal of trust. We don't know how long the good relationship lasted. We don't know when he tried to assault her, but we need to consider there would have been a long relationship. What a betrayal of trust. What a betrayal of their friendship and everything they've done for each other. So perhaps that makes us think about Prospero differently. The other thing we need to think about is Caliban's thoughts about what he tried to do to Miranda. He is not at all repentant. Look at that. It says, oh, ho, ho, ho. He's thinking back fondly at his attempt. And he wished he had. He wished he had got away with it. But he was stopped because obviously Prospero came across them in time. So he's not at all upset that he tried to rape her. He's not at all embarrassed or shamefaced or repentant. In fact, the only thing he regrets is not having managed to do it. So we're going to, what do you think? We're going to make a couple of notes. So we've already got the subtitle, Prospero and Caliban. I want you to answer these questions in full sentences. Number one, Caliban is not repentant that he tried to rape Miranda. He's only sorry he got stopped. What do you think about him knowing this? Give reasons. So please, using full sentence, I think Caliban is, and then continue that. Your second question, is Prospero justified in insulting Caliban and treating him like a slave? Now you know how Caliban betrayed his trust. And again, give reasons. You could start your sentence, I think Prospero is justified or is not justified in insulting Caliban because. That could be your sentence starter. So in full sentences, answer those two questions. Right, our third section we're going to look at is how Prospero treats his enemies. At the end of the play, we see a very different side to him. He acts with kindness and compassion. He releases his enemies from the spells he has cast. He reconciles with them, and he plans to return to Italy with them after the marriage of Miranda, his daughter, to Ferdinand. He also gives Ariel his freedom, and he leaves Caliban in charge of the island. So that's how everything gets wrapped up. So we're going to look at the reasons he gives for behaving in this generous way and gather some evidence that you may want to use in Friday's assessment. Again, there's a film clip. This time it's of a theatre production of the play. And again, if you can't access it for any reason, it's not necessary. You can move straight onto the activity on the next slide. So, again, we've got a modern translation of the scene. I have highlighted for you, or not highlighted, in red font or blue font, I have picked out the important bits of evidence. So we're going to read the text on the right. As I said, it's in modern English. And these are the reasons, the text I've picked out are the reasons Prospero gives for his actions. So Prospero, tell me, Spirit, how's the king and his entourage? So he wants to know about the welfare of the people that have been wandering the island. So this is Alonso, his brother Sebastian, Antonio, who is Prospero's brother, Gonzalo, and other people. He wants to know how these people are getting on. We know that they've had visitation from Ariel and they've been freaked out by nasty visions. All cooped up together, just as you ordered, all imprisoned in the grove of linden trees that protects your room from bad weather. They can't move till you release them. The king, his brother, and your brother are all waiting there in a crazed state of mind, and the rest are grieving over them, sad and astonished. Good old Lord Gonzalo, as you call him, is saddest of all, with tears running down his beard. Your magic spell has such an effect on them that if you saw them now, you would feel sorry for them. Do you think so, Spirit? I feel sorry for them if I were human. I will too. You're made of air, so if even you feel sorry for them, imagine the pity that I'll feel, being one of their own human race. I suffer pain just as much as they do, so I'll sympathise far more than you. Even though I'm angry and hurt by their evil deeds, I'll go with my nobler instincts, which tell me to feel some compassion for them. It's better to act virtuously rather than vengefully. Now that they're sorry, I don't want anything more. Go release them, Ariel. I'll break my spells and bring them back to their senses, and they'll feel like themselves again. I'll go get them, sir. And Ariel then exits. So that one speech has got a lot of reasons for Prospero's actions. Is tell us what he's thinking and why he does what he does. So what I've done is I've made the point, I put the evidence, and this time I just want you to think about your reactions. So again, print this off and fill it in if you can, or in your books, put 1, 2, and 3, and complete your response to the point and the evidence. The subtitle is Prospero and His Enemies. So complete the table, filling in your thoughts about Prospero's behaviour. Oh look, it's spelled behaviour spelled in the American way, sorry. The subtitle is Prospero and His Enemies. So first point, Prospero feels sorry for his enemies, and now that he's humbled them, imagine the pity that I'll feel. What does this make you feel towards Prospero? Why? As I said, we're seeing a very different side of Prospero. Right, the next bit of evidence is my nobler instincts, which tell me to feel some compassion for them, and it's better to act virtuously rather than vengefully. So Prospero is putting his feelings of hurt to one side, and instead acting upon his better and nobler instincts. He is thinking about them and how crazy and unhappy they are, and not dwelling on how they betrayed him all those years ago. Prospero chooses to be virtuous and forgive them as Christianity teaches, instead of taking vengeance and killing or hurting them. So he has a choice, act emotionally or act on his finer, nobler instincts, and he chooses the latter. And we see this. He says it, my noble instincts, which makes me feel compassion. So what do you think of Prospero now? Because these are his reasons of why he's actually forgiving his enemies that tried to kill and betray him. Right, Prospero can see that Alonso repents of his former acts and has suffered. His brother has also suffered from the nightmarish visions inflicted upon them. All his enemies have learnt repentance from their experiences, which makes Prospero feel that they may have become better people, so need no further punishment. So it's enough for him that they're sorry. And he says that now that they're sorry, I don't want anything more. So again, what does that make you think about Prospero and how he's perhaps him as a person and how he's using his power? So pause the video, complete that work. And when you're ready, we'll move on to the final couple of slides. So we're nearly at the end. Prospero and power. So let's start wrapping up everything we've learned. We're thinking about the theme of power and how Prospero uses it. So at the very end of the play, he actually gives up his magical power as well. So not only does he release all the people in his power, which is absolutely everyone in the play, but he also breaks his magic staff, a long stick, and he throws away his books about magic. He's voluntarily giving up his magical powers that lets him dominate and control everything, including the weather. So copy out the question below and answer it. Is Prospero wise or foolish to give up his power? Why? What do you think? So pause the video, answer that question. Finally, now this is the very last thing we're doing. We've looked at how he treats the reasons of why he treats Caliban like he does. We've looked that he's quite fair with Ariel, even if he's quite strict. We've seen that even though he has tormented and humbled his enemies, he's done it in a way that has taught them a lesson as opposed to physically hurt them. And once they are sorry, he forgives them. And then finally, even though he's got this total power over nature, over people, he can do anything he wants, he chooses to give it up. So that's quite an extraordinary thing to do. So I want us now to think about, have we changed our opinion about Prospero? So look back at Monday's notes about whether Prospero is a fair ruler or a tyrant. Do you agree with what you wrote then? Or do you wish to alter your opinion or add in some more ideas? So if you want to, add some comments to your notes if you need to. All right, it's important to do this thinking now because actually this is what you'll be writing about in your assessment on Friday. So I hope you have kept up with all that. There's a lot of ideas there, a lot of material that we can then have fun thinking about and just deciding how good or bad is Prospero, how kind, how fair. Is he a tyrant or is he a corrupt ruler? So that's what we'll be considering. And finally, some bad jokes, but I think a bad joke is better than no joke. Shakespeare loved to play video games. His favourite was Sonic the Hedgehog. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Goodbye.